YouTube channel Make Science Easy with Dr. KMC. Good to see you all through the online. Ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to discuss with you all about the microbial diversity. Without microbes, we cannot survive in the world. The food we consume and ultimately the process which happened inside the body is the digestion. Of course, the digestion is by the enzymes, and later the digested material goes via through the intestine and all, where it is absorbed, and there the microbes taken a key role, and really the nutrients are all being captured from the materials that we have been taken through our mouth. All has been, one way or the other, is by the microbes. So the whole, I think, the body is almost is functional only because of the microbes. But of course, we have positive and negative microbial agents are there. But we are going to see today how the microbial diversity is taking a key role in the whole world, I can see. So my title of today's discussion is on total microbial diversity. First we will start with soil microflora. So soil normally results how it formed by the physical, the chemical and biological, the weathering acting on the earth's surface. So this is where that the soil is formed, is originated. So the word, the pedosphere, again it reflects as the interface between the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, biosphere and lithosphere. You can see clearly in the picture I have mentioned here, and the whole world, I think you could see all here, that is called the pedosphere. So here, in the soil biology, what the term we used to say that, how do the activities of in general biological organisms make a soil, or they make soil be a soil? Yes, how? So what are these organisms make the soil as real soil? So why they are important in the agriculture and forestry, including of course we have the human also. So here every acre of the soil is home to 2 or more tons of the living organisms. So here what they mentioned is a teaspoon of the fertile soil, if you take, you could see the picture, a teaspoon of the fertile soil which hosts nearly thousands of separate species of soil organisms. So what microorganisms are in the teaspoon of the soil? If you culture, I think from a teaspoon of the soil, a garden soil, I think you could see that, I think, variety. In 1 teaspoon of the soil, see, you could say 100 nematodes. Nematodes are 100 nematodes are there, and we can grow. I think it is there already. Again, in 1 teaspoon of the soil, 2,50,000 algae. I think the microalgae is there. In 1 teaspoon of the soil, we have nearly 300,000 amoeba it is there. In 1 teaspoon of the soil, you could see that we can culture and then we can grow 4,50,000 fungi. You could see the variety of the fungus. In 1 teaspoon of the soil, nearly 11,700 actinomycetes. Sorry, you could see the different kinds of the actinomycetes growing in the 1 teaspoon of the soil. And come to the bacteria, all types, coccus, bacillus, spirillum, and then vibrio. So all types of the soil, you could see that in millions. I think enormous in the culture if you grow it from 1 teaspoon of the soil. So what we can in general the bacteria. So there is a classification. I think this is good. You can see that there are almost like the classification of the bacterial system here: bacteria, archaea, and then eukarya. So these are the three. One, a major kingdom in the soil microorganism. You could see that variety of the variety and variability. We can say that in diversity and in word, and you can see that a lot of the species, I mean, with reference to the family are here. So number one, we are going to see the soil bacteria. Soil bacteria is very small. It will be size ranges from 0.5 to 5 micro m, and it's single cell and then prokaryotic in origin and lack of true nucleus. That's why it is prokaryotic, and found in the domain the bacteria, and which include organisms found in the domain the group of the archaea in the kingdom, and most abundant organisms almost in the soil, usually grow as small colonies normally on surface on soil particles or in the pore spaces between the soil particles. It's most diverse group of the soil microorganisms. So it is the rod shape is most common in the soil. So many have the cilia and are motile. It has the mobility in character because of the cilia, and most of them are heterotrophs. Some are photoautotrophs and some are hemoautotrophs. So mostly the organisms are aerobic, but some thrive in the anaerobic soils also. Among the soil microorganisms, a few are parasitic, which cause the plant diseases. That's why I told in the beginning that the microorganisms are positive or negative in terms of the welfare. And then a ground call is caused Agrobacterium, the tubifications, and also has the widest host range of any plant pathogens. And number two is the soil fungi. So it has starts from 10 to 1,000 of species in the soil. Again, this soil fungus belongs to eukaryotes. So in the soil, the diversity, the fungus occupies a major position, having the eukaryotes, and then we have a nuclear membrane having the cell walls. So here mostly it's, these fungus are heterotrophs and then absorb organic matter, dead, whether it is dead or alive. And mostly it is aerobic organisms, which includes yeast, molds, and mushroom fungi. And these fungus, the soil fungus, act as soil decomposers mainly, attack matter that resist breakdown by bacteria, and hyphae grow into the material. And then next category is the soil fungus with reference to mycorrhiza. So the beneficial association, a symbiosis exists between soil fungus and the roots of the higher plants, which called the symbiotic, the mycorrhizal association, we called as a mycorrhizae, means fungus root. So most of the plants cannot thrive without the mycorrhiza. So here the fungus grows deeper into the soil, again for the nutrients which gets through the plant roots from the host. So it enhances plants' ability to take up on the phosphorus, mainly phosphorus and other nutrients also. So here the mycorrhiza, you could see the picture in the down, is protect the plants. Protect, it means it protects the plants from the soil borne the diseases and parasitic nematodes, and it produces antibiotics too, and alter the root epitomes and compete with the fungal pathogens for the infection sites. And fourth category we have in the soil system is the soil actinomycetes. So again this belongs to the prokaryotic group with bacteria, and it has a filamentous and profusely branched, and mycelia threads are smaller than the fungi. So mostly this type of the soil actinomycetes are aerobic heterotrophs, and which normally prefers the moist environment, and then which lives on the mostly on the organic matter in the soil or on the plants, and it become dominant in the later stages of the decay. And again here beneficial is that gives organic soils that earthy aroma. So this is the special characteristics of the actinomycete. You could see that in the picture in the right side of the actinomycetes colonies you can see. And then soil algae. So in addition to the aquatic or the bond algae, we have also the soils containing the algae, which are mainly eukaryotic cells, and it is almost unlike the other, it is a photoautotrophs found near surface of the soil. Normally it will be in the upper layer of the soil horizon. It ranges in size from the 2 to 20 micro-m, and many are motile, swim in soil pore water. Again it is a habitat, and most grow best in the moist to wet conditions. It requires water always be in the moist conditions. So some algae, we call cyanobacteria, form lichens by symbiotic relationship with fungus also, we call the cyanobacteria, and again it produces organic matter in the wetland soil. Again it is beneficial to the soil mantle. So altogether these microorganisms used over the past 50 years in different the beneficial in terms of to the advanced medical technology. A lot of compounds, lot of the medicines are all derived from the microorganisms. I think best one we can know that the penicillin, and then human and animal health, and then it used in the food processing industries and processing, and then food safety and quality. It has been used in the genetic engineering. It has been act as environmental protectors and used in the agricultural biotechnology, the lot of the enzymatic reactions and so on, and then effective treatment of the agricultural and municipal waste. So microorganisms are used over past 50 years in the diversified fields, from the basic application and then to the technology. So what are the functions of the beneficial microorganisms? So I think everyone knows that how we are deriving the nitrogen in the cereals, pulses, and altogether every plant is through the nitrogen, and by the process called the atmospheric nitrogen fixation process. It is mainly helped by the bacterial association in the root surface, or otherwise called the rhizosphere area. So and next is the decomposition of the organic waste and residues. So whatever are thrown out from the agriculture or either from the domestic waste, etc., normally this bacteria can take a lead role in converting into all the waste, all the organic waste and residues into useful in the form of minerals. And then suppression of the soil-borne pathogens. It takes a lead role also. It will suppress the other pathogenic the organisms. And then the recycling and increased availability of the plant, the nutrients. As I mentioned, it retains all the nutrients for the beneficial to the plants, and then it has a key role in the degradation also. Not only that, we have been taking the fixing of the nitrogen, and also it degrades the toxicants, including the pesticides we have been using in the plants and then to the soil mantle. And then production of the antibiotics and other bioactive compounds, as I mentioned, variety of the research are going on that the beneficial, the microorganism can be used for the production of the antibiotics and proactive compounds. And then production of the simple organic molecules for the plant uptake. I think it converts, as I mentioned, it converts into useful forms of all the minerals. And then complexation of the heavy metals to limit the plant uptake. It has act as a filters in some way that it will not allow the heavy metals enter into the rhizosphere of the soil and then to the root and finally to the aerial parts of the vegetation or the plants or the trees and so on. So it has the effect of the chelating the role here. And then solubilization of the insoluble the nutrient sources. So it makes these insoluble to the soluble status and thereby it facilitates the uptake by the root system of the vegetation. And then production of the polysaccharides which improve the soil aggregation. So the microorganisms are having a variety of the wide, I can say that wide the functional benefits of these in the soil. So next is the concepts. The concept of the effective microorganism, we have EM. Normally we used to mention as what is their role and application. So the effective microorganism consists of the what you call the mixed cultures of the beneficial microorganisms. So which are applied as the inoculants to increase the microbial diversity of the soils and the plant. So here what are all used for the effective microorganisms? The predominant populations of the number one is the lactic acid bacteria, yeast, photosynthetic bacteria, actinomycetes and other types of the organisms, which all together we call as the EM, the effective microorganisms, which are also having a key role in the soil environment. So an effective microorganisms, what it has a major role in the forestry, normally it will improve the soil structure, leading to the better aeration and better water holding capacity. And then these effective organisms improve the nutrient availability, leading to the lower fertilizer requirements and then higher fertilizer utilization of the applied inputs. And then it lower the disease pressure by developing a disease suppressive soil and higher yields, of course, and then lower requirements of pesticides, improved quality of produce and greater storage ability. Then it also improve the animal performance by creating healthy living environment and improved the digestion. And finally, it restoring the waterways and enhance the riparian the areas. So these effective microorganisms have a major role in the forest ecosystem also. So these are all the well studied free living nitrogen fixing the bacteria. The bacteria which one we having a major role in the fixation of the atmospheric nitrogen through having the nodule formation in the leguminous plants or the non-leguminous plants having the other association. Altogether we have a clump of species that are doing, fixing the nitrogen, and these are all the variety of that what we have been using. So everyone has its own characteristics, the feature of taking role in the fixation of the nitrogen to the plant. So come to the picture of the rhizobia. So rhizobia is broadly we have classified as the genus Rhizobium, and then Bradyrhizobium, and then Azorhizobium, and it has the own characteristic feature of the group Rhizobia. Normally it has the locality of the rhizosphere region in the soil, mainly to the leguminous plants, and I think, and then also some has been the non-leguminous plants, and we call the Agrobacterium, ground coral inducing bacteria, and then we have other species. So these are the closest relatives are also there when compared to the Rhizobia, and mostly I think it's the characteristic picture is which will grow on the culture media, and genes of the nitrogen fixation nodulation reside on the chromosome, and then the capable of free living nitrogen fixation is has the characteristic feature, and we can isolate from the stem nodules of the Sesbania rostata, especially for the Azorhizobium, which are occupied in the stem nodules, and the other two are in the root nodules. So these are the general major groups of the rhizobia with reference to rhizobium, bradyrhizobium and azorhizobium. So here again in the genus Rhizobia we have different species. I think we have variety. One which is Rhizobium leguminosarum, even in that we have subspecies level, and then Rhizobium leguminosarum, and then the cucuri, and then loti, and then calicae, and then tropici, and ecli, and then leguminosarum, a variety the Fascioli, and then we have the tripoli, and then VCA. So variety of rhizobial species are available with reference to the major host, and I think third column you can see that the host genus species are mainly attached to the various their leguminous plants, starts from Medicago, Clycin-max, Rhizia fava, Trifolium. So each plant has its own its specific the rhizobium species growing under the area. And then the second one is the bradyrhizobium, and again this species it also has many species levels in that, and then Japonicum is one, and then Elkan is the one, and then we have the other Parasponia also we have. So again it has its own the host specificity is that, and it has occupied in the area of the rhizosphere. So normally this symbiotic nitrogen fixation has a larger group and genera, and then it has its host plants, and where it has been occupies either root nodule in the form of nodule, or in the leaf cavity, or sometimes in the coloroid, the root, and then gland tissue also. And then location again mostly in the outside of the region, and some are in the inside. So all the species can be isolated very easily. So you could see the first one is the soybean nodules. You can see the cluster of the nodules. Based on the nodules of this soybean, we have three types. One is the green nodule, and then pink nodule, and another one is the having both the character of the green and pink. We have that one, and these three types of nodules are available. The pink nodule, which are having the high in the content of the the red pigment like hemoglobin, and which is the characteristic picture. And if you have the high content of the like hemoglobin, and naturally it has the high capacity of the fixing the nitrogen, and it's also showing the active nature with the rhizobium of the host species. And then second one, you can see the stem nodules of Ascinamina aspera, or otherwise also we have the sespen, and these species also have been effective in the fixing the atmospheric nitrogen in the aerial part of the plant. And again these plants are mostly somewhere semi-aquatic in condition. See, I think this is the picture which shows the clear nodules of different types. Normally it has like a coralloid strip, and then state, and then some are single, and then some are in multi in the faceted way that it forms. And when you have the cross section of that one nodule, the cross section you can see that a lot of the inner component with the pink color, it shows the content of the lake hemoglobin, and then inside you can see the bacteria of this inside one, you can see that one, and in a single bacterium, the rhizobium, you can see the hairy structure, the flagella, and all that. So this one having having the rhizobium infection, how it turned curled, and then making the root and forming the later the nodule. So this is the simple phenomena of the rhizobium infection in the root have been taken, the cortex region, and then how the hairs are becoming curly upon the infection of the rhizobium, and later it turned, and then finally it forms the nodule. You could see that one. So I think these bacteria are inside. You could see all the dot-like structures inside. So I think this is a peculiar phenomenon here, and the nodule growth and the fixation of the nitrogen is mainly through the mechanism of the energy derived is the photosynthesis. So here these are the various comparison of the methods of estimating the nitrogen the fixation. So it has the total nitrogen balance can be simplest we can make, and then other method is the radioactive method nitrogen, and then Askel introduction, again the N15 dilution, natural abundance, and then substrate addition. So these are the different methods, and both are advantageous and some disadvantages also there, and sensitivity is there, but sensitivity is high in the case of the acetylene reduction than the other methods. So the biological nitrogen fixation and its use. So organisms that can fix nitrogen, I think among these three kingdom, eukarya, prokarya, and the archaea, these nitrogen fixing organisms are in NIF genes called are not found in the eukarya, and again this is the peculiar of the nitrogen cycle in the biosphere, and how the nitrogen fixation pathway is taken place, and here how the nitrogen has been taken, and the enzyme taken lead role is the nitrogenase, and then how it converts with the help of the ATP derived from the photosynthetic metabolism, and finally it gives ammonia, and then ammonia oxo acid, and finally through the reduction process it converts the ammonia into the oxo acids, propane, and then finally to the proteins. So this is the simplest way of the nitrogenous enzyme, which is present in the Rhizobium species, and this is an enzyme which converts the atmospheric nitrogen into the ammonia, and you can see that all this and how it converts and all that. What is the requirement of the ADP and ATP? All is mentioned here. Of course, it's all from the photosynthetic origin, as I mentioned. So in addition to that, we have other alternate nitrogenous enzyme also available. It's based mostly, it is three types. One is the molybdenum nitrogenase, and then vanadium nitrogenase, and then nitrogenase 3. And then we could see that the metals of dinitrogen reductase having role. And then what is the hydrogen NH3 the molecular ratio is 2.1 in the MO nitrogenase, and then 5:1 2, minimum of 2.2:1 is the vanadium based nitrogen, and then the nitrogenous 3 is the 10:1 all. So activity of ammonia formed nanomoles per minute per milligram of the enzyme. I think you could see that maximum in the molybdenum base, and then again ranges from 1000 to 300 and less than 50 with the nitrogenous 3, and almost all the organisms taken role in the first one, and then in the vanadium based nitrogenase whether Clostridium, Acinetobacter, and the Anabaena 2, and then in the nitrogenous 3, of course it has the less activity, Acinetobacter, Rhodobacter, and then Rhodopseudomonas all are belong to the photosynthetic origin, and the gene is responsible is the NIF for the molybdenum based nitrogenase, and VNF for the vanadium based nitrogenase, and then ANF for the nitrogenous 3. So this is the simple way NIF genes map in the Klebsiella pneumoniae and their roles, and you can see that all the how it means the regulatory body is working with the physiological and the physical association of the NIF genes in the Klebsiella pneumoniae, and you could see that structure of the one, what are the role of the regulator, and then how it gets the electron from the power from the electron transport system, and what are the three functional group, that is the Fe protein, and then the molybdenum protein, and the nitrogenous base, and then also the carbon. So this is the simplest structure of the rhizobium, the genome. So what is the need for the nitrogen fertilization or nitrogen fertilizer? So normally the proper seed inoculation with high quality commercial, the NF is very economical, effective means of the optimizing the growth. It is highly available, and many soils lack sufficient number of the specific rhizobia that suits for the host specificity, and a need for the growth and high yield. So it needs the external the source of the NF. So some soil population infect the roots but are not able to fix the nitrogen. So it is called the ineffective nitrogen fixation or ineffective nodal formation, and because of the poor infection of the what is the rhizobium in active state, and some strains fix nitrogen but often as efficiently as the specifically selected strain used as the commercial NF, and these are some of the powdered inoculant available commercially. I think they have taken from the well fertile soil and from the origin of the bacteria, and they used to make it as a billion of the effective bacteria and per gram must be applied to the seed as a seed inoculation, and then later they can sow it in the field. And then we have also the liquid the inoculant, which is in the aqueous preparation of the rhizobia, and then azospirillum. And we have also the granular inoculant with small granules of the many rhizobia as the powdered inoculant is the mixer one. And here the mixed inoculant will be the carbon source or the cellulose the sago source of the material, and which also needs for the multiplication of the particular the rhizobia or the any bacteria. And then methods of application is the number one is the water slurry method. So here the inoculant suspended in water having the rich in terms of the rhizobium or any nitrogen fixing bacteria or azospirillum, and then mix thoroughly with the seed until each seed is coated uniformly. That is most important with the biofertilizer powder. And then second methodology is the sticker solution. Here it glues the inoculant to the seed. The adhesive material, I think they will use the adhesive material as a sticker or any the collagen material they use to feed the rhizobia and to protect them from drying conditions on the seed. They use it normally when they sowing in the field. And then of course the suitable stickers are now available. 10% corn syrup, again so organic source, sugar, rice soap, and then soup, and then powdered the milk, etc. So these are the co-agents that can be make the rhizobium viable when fertilization. Then how to check the nitrogen fixation? We know that the bacteria which in the rhizosphere forms the nodules, and once it forms the nodules, but as I mentioned, there are some ineffective nodules also there, and it will not fix the nitrogen. But anyhow, we would like to see that how to check the nitrogen fixation. Very simplest method is dig the roots of several plants at different spots in the field and examine the nodules and slice open. If pink, as I mentioned, if pink streak red, that means it is effective nodules. Red color is due to, as I mentioned, the hemoglobin. If you have the green, white, grey, that means it is ineffective nodules and symptoms of nitrogen deficiency, which will not fix the atmospheric nitrogen. So these are the two. So here only the pink, streak red effective nodules, which is in red color, is the having the content of lake hemoglobin and the effective nodule, which will fix the atmospheric nitrogen very efficiently. So where is the storage? So normally the living cultures of the bacteria should be kept in the refrigerated or at least cool and out of the direct or the sunlight. So commercial inoculants are available for each specific plants because of the specificity. Alfalfa group is now available, rhizobium, and then the clover group, pea group, bean group, lupin group, and then fabia, the bean group, and again with reference to the various leguminous. So each bacterial strains will have a host specificity. It will infect only a particular rhizobium as a rhizosphere area, and then later to the root, the surface, and form the nodules. So hence, what the conclusion is the proper inoculation is essential for good nodulation and for having the high nitrogen fixation. So these are some of the commercial inoculants now available in the open market. Then next is the azospirillum. So what we mentioned in the earlier is our rhizobium root nodule formation. There are in addition some bacteria also having a lead role in the fixing of the nitrogen through the associative symbiosis. The first one is symbiosis. So this is associative symbiosis. Here non-leguminous plants having fixing the ability of nitrogen, which was introduced in 1970 by Daubernier. So he is the first one who identified there are some azospirillum species, bacterial species, which also have been taking a role in the nitrogen fixation, especially in the monocotyledons. Monocotyledons he observed for the rice, grasses, and so on. So after inoculation of the azospirillum, it increases the yield. Now the culture, the technology is available in a mass way, and we can show it. And the changes of the what it changes the root morphology, root hair, density, elongation of the zone length, total root surface. So everything is increasing upon the addition of the azospirillum. It induces normally the production of the growth promoting substances like IAA, gibberellins and cytokinins, which are responsible for the growth, cell development, cell increase, cell enlargement, etc. I think it takes a lead role in the inducing the growth of the growth promoting hormones. So here there are two strains are available. One is the Azospirillum basilensis, another one is Azospirillum lipopterum. So this is the simplest structure of the bacteria, the Azospirillum and then Azospirillum in the rice. Both are, the species have the multicellular flagella. So altogether it takes a role in the nitrogen cycling. So how the soil nutrients later by the decomposition mineralization, how the nutrients are released and plant uptake, and then it will be incorporated into the plant tissues and etc. And later all the dead leaves and then the organic matters which falls on the ground as in the form of the litter, and the dead organic matter falls on that, then by the bacterial, fungal and the reactions and then action through the process called the decomposition mineralization, it releases the nutrients. So altogether again it also fixes the nitrogen through the nitrogen fixation, which will also have been released to the plant through the root system to the above ground mass. And so altogether there is a cycling of the nutrients from the soil nutrients to the plant, and then plant to the earth or the soil and then soil. So there is a cycling of the nutrients in the terrestrial ecosystem. We call it as the biogeochemical cycles, and these biogeochemicals have the movement of elements or compounds through the living organisms is taken place, and then also it has the internal recycling of the nutrients happen in the many of the ecosystem. So the decomposition is, I think we have the different process how the dead matter falls on the ground, and then leaching, fragmentation and change in the physical and chemical structure, and then waste re-excretion and all. Finally by the action of the microbial the decomposition it give the nutrients. So later leaching, fragmentation, mineralization and then immobilization. So these are the chemical, the technology or the cycle happen. So how the decomposition of the plant materials happen here with the help of again the microbes, which has a simple process decomposition with the help of the bacteria or the microbial decomposition, all the cellulose and hemicellulose material including the lignin, how it takes major role in the degradation, and then finally it forms the minerals which transform from the organic to inorganic form. It later enter into that how you can see that the nitrogen, organic nitrogen, the ammonia is released, and then all together happening in the mineralization process. So here the net mineralization rate, the supply of the rate of the mineral nutrients to the soil, and then difference between the rates of mineralization and the immobilization is maintaining the growth process and all that. So I think here you can see the various graphs, how the mineralization, how the microbes taking a real role in the release from the litter, and how many days are required for converting into simpler nitrogen form in the useful form. So these are the various nitrogen cycling of the nutrient input, how it takes place, all that leaching, erosion, gaseous losses, how it happens in the plant. And the next process, the nitrification, how the organic nitrogen converted to ammonia, and then how the ammonia later convert into the nitrate and then the energy all through the process. So this is the bicarbonate, how it decomposed in the root respiration, the energy which gives, and then how the nitrate inputs as nitrogen fixation, nitrification, and the nitrogen the decomposition. Then what the nutrient outputs losses, the losses either through the leaching losses or erosion or the gaseous form of course, and then how it takes place in the forest place, and how the nutrient uptake taken in the forest tree species, again the same method. And here I think how the the root surface have the permeability of this, how it enter into the root surface through the particles